Hello, and welcome back to Top 5 Mondays. This week, we will look at the top 5 scariest scientific facts. Starting with number 5. A CME, or coronal mass ejection. A coronal mass ejection is the most likely civilization-ending disaster to come from space. The sun emits them regularly, hitting the Earth every few hundred years. The last one occurred in the 1890s, but society at the time was less susceptible to the effects. Were one to hit the Earth today, it could potentially destroy all the tech infrastructure on whichever side of the planet is facing the sun at the time. This would practically knock the affected hemisphere back into the Stone Age, and it would take decades to recover, altering the global balance of power forever. This disaster is only a matter of time. We could mitigate the effects, but it would be expensive, so we haven't and likely never will. At least not until the problem becomes real to people, but by then it will be too late. Moving on to number 4. Airplanes are dynamically stable, but helicopters are dynamically unstable. This means, if an airplane pilot lets go of the controls of a small plane with no autopilot, if it's correctly trimmed and balanced, it will keep flying level until it runs out of fuel. If a helicopter pilot lets go of the controls, in about 2.4 seconds, it will tip over to such a degree that it is unrecoverable. Helicopter pilots can let go of one control, the collective, for a little while by frictioning it in place to change the radio, adjust something, scratch their noses, or whatever. But it's friction on, do the thing with the left hand, friction off, and hand back on the collective. Helicopter pilots fly 3 seconds away from falling out of the sky all the time. Number 3. There are weaponized strains of anthrax which can remain viable and dangerous for 40+ years after release. In 1942, the UK tested an anthrax bomb on Gruinard Island, killing a flock of sheep in days. Some died in hours. Examination showed that the spores could remain active for decades, and decontamination proved impossible at the time. The project was scrapped. Fast forward to 1981, an eco-terrorist group smuggled a sample off of the island and threatened the UK government with releasing it if the island wasn't decontaminated. The spores were still active and deadly. It took 4 years to plan and execute the cleanup, using 280 tons of formaldehyde in a seawater solution, and removing 7 hectares worth of soil to a depth of 3 feet, about 58,000 tons of topsoil, where the concentration was too high for the juice to do the job. The island was confirmed clean in 1990, 4 years after cleanup began. Number 2. Approximately 60% of the world's population have the parasite Toxoplasma gondii in their brain. For a long time, it's thought to have been a benign presence, but recent statistical research shows that it may have an impact on things like levels of anger and rates of accidents and suicide. When gondii is on rats, it changes their behavior so that they find the smell of cat urine sexually appealing. The rats then seek out cats and get eaten. In the gut of the cat, the parasite can reproduce. Its literal aim is to kill you so it can end up in a cat. It's known to affect your hormones, causing severe depression, increased anger, and far riskier and more damaging behavior such as increased susceptibility to substance abuse and seeing risky and dangerous behavior as less serious than it is, sometimes fun. If you have ever lived with cats, or spent a long time with cats, you almost definitely carry it. The final scary scientific fact is number 5. The universe's Higgs field might be metastable, a false vacuum, and decay at any moment, destroying everything. Everything in the universe wants to be stable. To do this, it must move from higher energy states to what are called ground states, in which it has the least amount of energy possible. Any object with a lot of energy wants to shed that energy in order to become stable. If all the quantum fields in space are in their vacuum states and therefore cannot lose any more energy, the universe is stable. Scientists believe most fields are in their stable vacuum states. All of them except for one. The Higgs field is thought to be in a metastable state, meaning that while it's not currently undergoing any changes, it's also not predicted to be at its lowest energy level. If even just one point in space were to collapse into this lower energy level, it would trigger the spread of vacuum decay everywhere, sending a punishing sphere of the true stable vacuum to consume the entire universe. We wouldn't even be able to watch our end approach since it would be moving at the speed of light. Space would be releasing its potential energy, throwing everything within the sphere into new and unrecognizable laws of physics. A world so strange would emerge that we can't even begin to imagine it. Likely it wouldn't be welcoming to life. Thank you for watching. If we have not ruined your week, please feel free to like and subscribe. See you next week.